funny because sometimes we're in denial. Like, again, people who really care and love about, care about you and love you, they notice changes in your energy. They notice changes in, again, the way you're breathing or your attitude. And so there's this, again, deflection of, I'm fine. No, everything's fine. Like, I'm just going through a little bit of stuff, but I'll be okay. That social connection is part of the undoing effect of the stress. This is like part of that stress response. When you think about, like, again, when your body experiences a stressful moment, real or perceived, your body responds the same way. You get the adrenaline, you get the oxytocin, I'm sorry, you get the cortisol, but you also get oxytocin, which is the cuddle hormone. And this is what makes you want to like reach out and talk to somebody. This is why when people are stressed, they want to vent because your body is priming you for social connection. Your body is priming you for
Sure.
talk to somebody about this. So the venting, the actual like reliving of whatever's causing you stress is not what makes you feel better. What makes you feel better is the social connection with another person. Or maybe you get a hug, or maybe you get a pat on the back, or just some empathy for whatever you're feeling, and you don't feel so alone.
Yeah.
So like this social circle is part of that wellness. And, we have to be really cautious about like how we choose our social circle because if I have someone who says you don't seem to be doing well, let's ruminate on that, right? Let's circle the drain of blame and who made you miserable. That feels good for a moment, but long term it doesn't really do much for you. It's better to surround yourself with saying, okay, what's going on? Let's find a solution. What's the next step? How do we fix this and make things better? Versus let's point the finger at who made you miserable because that just keeps you miserable. Those friends are easy to find, by the way. The If you don't have anything nice to say, come sit by me. Those people are really easy to find, but they're not great for your long-term wellness. Long-term wellness comes from finding people who care about you and support you, and that can help you get out of those dark places into something better, with support, with encouragement, with empathy. And so I try to be that for others. I know I have my support system that really helps me keep grounded, which I'm so grateful for because grounded is not a word that you would ever use to describe me in my first like 40 years of life. Nobody would ever be like, that Tiffany, she's so grounded. Never ever. But I'm very
Unless,
grounded now.
unless you were grounded, right?
I
You're
was
grounded,
always
young lady.
which was well, Tiffany was always grounded, but what I'm saying is that you would never say that I had like my emotional well-being, my mental well-being, my physical well-being was never, it was not there, but it's there now, and I feel like a different person. I'm like in a new realm. I can't
Mhm.
even like my skin is better. Look at this. Like I mean, I'm thriving. My look how shiny my hair is. I got an $11 haircut the other day, by the way. $11. I just want to say. I felt like I would rob the place. I had to see the security footage of me paying and making sure I paid the right amount because I couldn't really I haven't had $11 haircut since like 1982. I don't know. It's been a long time. That's all I'm saying. And it was a haircut, blow dry, and style for $11. Robbery. Robbery. Anyways, I got distracted right there, but that's part of my well-being. Physical self-care, mental wealth care is also important, by the way. Wealth care is also very important. The health care is also there.
Speaking of that, there's when we think of that idea of wellness, right? A lot of people they think of mental health, physical health, right? And so and we've talked about, how stress can affect you physically. If anybody's interested, there is a video from the TED folks, right? So the TED Talk folks, but it's called How Stress Affects Your Body, and it is a cartoon, and it's I tell people all the time, it's the scariest cartoon that you will ever watch because it literally talks about the effects of cortisol, not just outwardly, but inwardly, and how it affects how it eats us alive, as you mentioned, right? And there's one particular thing where it talks about how it shortens telomeres, right? Which are the connections. that we have to reproduce cells.
Mm.
And we have these little connections at the end, kind of like bumpers, right? So as we replicate more telomeres. Well, if your telomeres start to diminish, you cannot replicate as a cell. And too much stress, too much cortisol in your body kills telomeres. So, literally, like you said, it's die slow. You're dying faster than you think, right? And so it's so important. But a lot of people think, well, I have a doctor, I have medicine, I'm on medication, I'm on mental medication, I'm with my therapist. I have these outlets, right? But you were talking about the idea of, and you think you slipped up on the wealth wellness. Well, I mean, there's a lot of different areas that we can focus on wellness. And, this is just an example of some of the different places, right? So financial wellness,
Mhm.
right? So how are you feeling about your money? How's your credit? How's your bills? Are they paid off? Right? Are you saving up for that vacation? Right? You got your taxes done? How are you feeling financially? Right? Everything's in place. Occupational wellness. How are you doing with your job? Are you um, living your best life at your job? Are you making a difference? Are you being active? Do you have a support group there, right? Are you completing tasks, right? Are you being recognized as somebody who's valuable to the team? Are you trusted, right? Emotional, like you said, the esteem you hold yourself in, do you have ways to access that? Physical, are you eating right, health, and exercising and all those other things like that? And, social, like you mentioned, do you have your social game intact? Do you have your squad of people? And your squad of people can be 20, it can be two, but recognizing what your need is, right? Environmental, how's your space working for you? How's your workspace working for you? Your home space working for you? Do you have, your car, right? Everything else that is part of your environment, you know, um, how are you feeling about your environment? Spiritual, right? Do you have a religion or a faith? Is that need being met? If you don't have a religion or faith, how are you feeling about where you are, that level of self-actualization on Maslow's pyramid, right? Are you able to give back? How are you contributing to the world? And then intellectual, are you learning? Are you growing? Are you getting better every day? Are you open to learning something new? And if you don't learn something new today, how about tomorrow? Are you ready for that opportunity? Right? So when all eight of those are in place, how do we feel? Right? We're a well-oiled machine, right? And we are humming along. But how often are all of those in place? And what happens when one of those goes wrong? When your financials are going well, and then your plumbing has to be repiped, like mine did this year, right? So whatever vacation we had set up was, okay, well maybe we just go to the movies instead, right?
You know,
And yeah,
I was gonna say money, they say money doesn't buy happiness, but not having money sure does guarantee some not happiness.
I always say money doesn't buy happiness, but it reduces stress, right?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Oh,
yeah,
1,000%.
yeah. So,
Percent.
I mean, just thinking about those things there and how important they are. And when one of them falls down, how does it increase that level of stress? And how does it make it toxic sometimes? Where what can we do to address it,
Hmm.
right? You
And
know,
I think that's the key point there is what do you do to address it? Because it's going to be really difficult to be balanced in all of these areas all of the time. Like life is just not that clean. Life is just not that easy. And so part of like I think overall wellness is looking at these individually and saying, where am I strong? Where are the areas where I'm really doing well? I may not have to put so much attention in that area because I'm feeling strong there, but where am I lacking and how do I find balance in that? So I know we've talked about weight and talked about like physical health. And so if I'm in a space where I felt really that there was a deficit in my physical well-being. And I say, well, you know what? I'm going to start hitting the gym every day and I'm going to eat well and I'm going to really focus on meal prepping. I'm not eating out with friends. I'm not going to happy hour anymore. I'm going to make sure I hit those classes every time. You might start to do really, really well in your physical space, but now your social life is gone. And then you were like, oh, I'm looking really great, but I don't have any friends to hang out with, you know? Or, I'm doing really great in my occupation and I'm really nailing it in the workplace and I'm feeling really great. But my home is so disorganized that I don't have a moment of peace at home because I don't make time to organize my home in a way that makes me feel good. And so every time I walk in the house, I'm just exhausted from all my organizational success that my home is in chaos. And that gives me stress. So it's really finding like how to find the balance that works for you. And it'll never be perfect. Life is always going to have some stress. Always. And if it didn't, by the way, you'd be bored, just for the record.
But stress, but those, I mean, stress is there to let you know something's going on. Stress can be a good thing,
Right.
right? I don't always say there's good stressors, but stress can tell you something is going on and you need to fix it, right? And so, you know, and, so I can tell when I'm stressed out. I have certain tells, right? And that's one of the things I talk about when we talk about mindfulness, right? So just thinking about, one of the tips I always use for mindfulness is making stress your friend,
Mhm.
right? And how does that work? Well, when you're stressed out, what do you do? What does your body tell you, right? Different people have different responses. Some people get super talkative, get super chatty, get super jittery. Some people stop talking. Some people start eating more, smoking more. Some people eat less. I wish I had that stress reaction, by the way, right? But what is that? So for me, my shoulders get really tight, right? And I super tender. If I touch them, I feel pain, right?
Mhm.
If I'm sitting down, my knee will start bobbing like 100 miles an hour, right? Um, Pick at my nails. It's a terrible habit, right?
Same.
I am not suited and booted like I should be because my nail game is just terrible. And then also, I can get really sleepy, right? So it doesn't matter what coffee or Red Bull or whatever else I've had, I'm having a hard time staying awake, right? So I know those are four different tells my body is letting me know there is something going on that needs to be addressed. Sometimes it's just I need to send an email. I need to finish this class, right? I need to set up a meeting. I need to pay this bill that I forgot about because I'm a squirrel, right? Okay, cool, right? But it's those things that when you are aware of them, you don't just push them down. The more you push them down, it's like, a lot of people think they're suppressing it, but what are you doing when you're suppressing it? It just spreads. It doesn't. I mean, it has to go somewhere, so it just spreads all over, right? And it becomes toxic. And so what are your stress tells, Tiff? When you're stressed out, what happens?
Couple of things happen. Number one, I start breathing heavy. I start going like this. That's the breath. So when you like see me gasping for breath, that tells you that I'm at a space of deregulation. The other thing that I do when I'm really stressed, I rage clean. Like if my house is spotless, then you know that something's overwhelming me and I'm probably avoiding it. So I would be like, I gotta repave the roof right now. Right now. Like there's no other time. I need to do it right now. So I rage clean. I like everything in my house, it gets spick and span. Not all consecutively, by the way. I have like 47 jobs happening at one time. So I'll start the dishes, go do some laundry, mop the floor in this 4x4 section, like hang a picture, like just all over the place. Um, the other thing when I'm stressed is not just physical, but I get very short with people. So I have like zero tolerance for anything, and so I'm really snippy. So if someone asks me if I'm against stress and they ask me a simple question, uh I'm like, "Wah." So I'm like, I always have to go on an apology tour after I've been stressed. But mostly the thing that I think is most apparent to almost everybody, because I'm a really happy, bubbly person just in general. I'm usually in a really good mood, is that I'm not in a really good mood, and that really throws people off. It throws me off, but it throws other people. And when I'm overly stressed, I can't fake the funk, because there's sometimes where I'm in like stress, but I can mask it. But when I'm overly stressed, I don't mask it. And so people say, "Good morning." I'm like, "What's so good about it?" Right? And they're not used to that. So that's when I know when other people are kind of feeling the effects of my stress. I know that's usually when I have to decompress. Um, I also, this is one last, when I get really overwhelmed and really like overstimulated, and this is going to sound so strange, I will make a ridiculous amount of corn tortillas from scratch. Like that's like my coping mechanism. When I'm really feeling like completely deregulated and just overwhelmed, I will literally just go and just start making corn tortillas from scratch. So that's, if you're eating fresh corn tortillas from me, just know that I'm probably going through something.
That's what I was about to say. I mean, next time you're making corn tortillas, just let me know. We'll run down and pick up a batch. Yeah.
Oh, you can, because I don't make like, there's just, two or three of us in the house at any given time. And I'll make like 50 tortillas for two of us. Like there's no rhyme or reason to. I don't even measure anything at this point. I just till it feels right, and I'll be
Yeah.
there for a couple hours making tortillas for what? Just because I need to deregulate. That's how I kind of like regulate myself, is I'm just present in that moment, because you can't not be present while you're making corn tortillas. You have to really be, there's a process and you have to be in it. And so it allows me to like turn off everything else that's maybe mulling in my head. I can turn it all off for a minute, focus on what I'm doing, and then when that's all done, then I can think, okay, now what am I going to do? I don't know. It's like a pause. I don't know how to describe it, but it's like my thing.
Yeah.
So every time my husband has fresh tortillas, he's probably like, okay, we averted a meltdown. There was a meltdown a coming. We've averted it.
Yeah.
So
So I think it's an important piece though, like you mentioned, when you're stressed out, there are things that other people can see. And if we're gonna correlate this to, our overall topic of how these things affect leadership, right? Just think about how your stress tells and your stress reactions affect others, right? And who, for no fault of their own, very often are um at the whims of your stress, right? And so, that can really affect cohesion, team chemistry, right? And leaders need people too. A lot of times, and that's something I tell leaders all the time. You guys always send your folks to training and then you say, I'm too busy. You need training, you need wellness, you need to take time for yourself as well. If you are too busy and everyone else is getting the benefits of your hard work, it's going to affect them in a negative way eventually as well, right? You have to be able to take care of yourself for other people to feel safe and supported by you and around you, right? And so, if you have that, if you get snippy with your coworker, I mean, if you get snippy with a staff member, what's that staff member gonna say? Oh, they're in one of their moods. I'm just gonna stay out of their way until they're not in their mood. And so, how long does that last? I don't know, right? How often are we going to go back? Oh, I'm feeling better now. We're trying to mask it, but we can't. It comes out, right? So now you have a culture of inconsistency. And what is trust based off of? Integrity and consistency in relationships, right? And so if you're not consistent, you're not going to have the trust that your staff needs for you to be able to be an effective leader. And so finding outlets for your stress, finding ways to manage your stress, not just at home. I mean, great, if you have a hike, if you have an exercise, if you have a journal, if you have a bath bomb, cool. If you have wine therapy, fantastic, right? But what can you do at work, right? What can you do in the moment to, okay, I'm recognizing that I'm in the grip, as we call it in the Myers-Briggs world, in the grip, right? And and that I'm having a rough time with this, and I have a staff meeting in 5 minutes, right? So I might be able to suppress it for a half an hour, but what if something comes up? What if a confrontation happens? What if something serious needs to be discussed and my mind is on something else? Am I going to get snippy? Am I going to tell people, well, that's it, we don't need to talk about that? You ever had that somebody said, well, we don't need to talk about that right now?
I've said that.
Yeah,
I've said that. But you know what? I'm going to tell you, this is part of like my authenticity. Part of that psychological safety, like we talked about last time, is people having certainty, right? So if I'm unpredictable, then I might be threatening to you. I love honesty where I can say, you know what, Carl, I'm not in a good space right now. Can we just talk about this some other time?
sure.
Like, I'm not going to be helpful right now. I try to really like encourage people and myself as well to like when you are at that bandwidth where you can't mask, because let's just be real. I can't take a day off every time I have a bad day. If I'm having a bad emotional day, I can't take every bad emotional day off. There'd be people taking like 14 years off at a time. Like
See that?
I'm going through a funky phase right now. So I'm going to
Yeah.
take the next 14 years off to get it together. But there are times where disconnecting from the source of your stress is a really good way, but not just disconnecting as a coping mechanism, but as a way to re-strategize how you want to manage things going forward. I'm a
Mhm.
huge advocate for mental health days. And the way that I like describe it is if I know that I'm going to come to work and create chaos and I'm not going to be able to be a good productive person, then I'm better off probably staying at home for the day and figuring out like what I need to do and not be a waste of payroll. Right? Because if I come to work and I'm in a place where I'm overwhelmed and I'm overstressed, where I cannot put on the mask and do the work, then I'm not really doing anybody any favors. And I'm probably going to create more work for myself down the road. And so
Mhm.
I can take a day off, a day off. I'm not saying a week off, 2 months off. I'm saying that every once in a while to allow yourself maybe a day to regroup
Right.
and figure out what do I need to do? How do I need to manage this? What's my next step? And that might mean maybe I have to have a difficult conversation. Maybe I need to set some boundaries. Maybe I need to resolve a conflict. Maybe I need to admit I bit off more than I can chew and I need some help. Maybe I have to admit I don't have a good working relationship with this person, and maybe my best bet is to move to another area where I don't have to deal with them because the conflict is never going to get resolved and I can't let it go. So, I mean, there's that introspection that you can't blame other people for your unwellness. You can't you They can facilitate some unwellness, but at the end of the day, you're responsible for your own happiness. It's nobody
Right.
else.
Yeah.
And so if that means you take a day off every now and then do that. I mean, I have to tell a secret. Nobody knows this. I'm just joking. I tell this all the time. But back in the olden days when my kids were little, my whole life like revolved around them and their activities. I went to work, I came home, took them to soccer, picked them up from soccer, took the other one to soccer, took the football. I mean, just my whole life was like wound around these kids and their activities. And I had a stressful job. I had a stressful life raising little boys. I mean, there's just a lot going on. I didn't have a healthy outlet for all of that. There was no balance, by the way. And I was broke. So there's no financial. I was working for the county making pennies. Like there was a lot of things that were going on. And so I had like a tradition of these like ditch days, where I would take my kids to school in the morning, like I was going to work, and I'd be like, have a great day at school. And then I would call in sick to work and I would go to San Francisco and go ride the trolley up and down the streets all day long and go eat Thai food and go, to Chinatown and have dim sum, or, go to Santa Cruz and sit on the beach and just like listen to the waves crash with a $5 hot and ready pizza, at at the beach, or whatever, go to the mystery spot for $5 and just wonder how gravity works, and is this even real? Are we aliens? Like, like whatever I needed to just disconnect from all of that reality, and then come back, pick them up at 5 o'clock. You guys ready for soccer practice? Like nothing happened. That was like the chef's kiss for like recalibrating when I needed to just disconnect and be a person beside being an employee, being a mom, being all of the things, all the roles that I had to play. It was fantastic. The better part is I would convince friends to ditch with me. It would be a field trip. And so, um,
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, it was some of the best days of my life, and it was just necessary for, again, and by the way, my work didn't suffer. Nobody died because I took a day off. And all the work that I had to do that day, it was still waiting for me when I got back. Like nothing bad happened. But I was in a way better space. Way better
Yeah.
space.
Yeah. You got to take care of yourself, right?
Yeah.
And like I said, I mean, if we suppress it and we suppress it, it shows up in ways that we don't want it to show up, right? And then it does affect other people. So finding your outlets, what it is that you can do to relieve your stress is really an important piece of wellness for sure, right? And so just thinking about, road trips, yeah, absolutely, right? And but even then, I mean, do you know people who don't take their breaks, right? Somewhere in American society, we have conflated hard work with not taking your break, which is absolute, utter, complete bullshit, right? And there's stats to back it up. We can only sit still for an hour and a half at the most before we start losing efficiency, right? And after 2 hours of sitting and focusing on something, we start losing things. Our brain begins to spit things out indiscriminately. You can't control what you lose. But yet we have this culture of people saying, oh, they're so dedicated. They never take a lunch. They never take a break. They eat their lunch at their desk while they're still panning stuff out. I wish I was that dedicated. No, you don't. You're glad to be able to take your lunch with your besties. Why? Because it brings you some sort of joy in the midst of sometimes a very stressful day, right? It's some type of release, some type of opportunity to get out of there, right? And so if, but people sometimes buy into that myth that being more dedicated, being more of a hard worker means that, you know, I, I'm a better person. And, for some folks,
Stop it.
achievement, hard work is great, but, how quick do you burn out? Right.
Yep.
And it shows up in ways that you don't necessarily see, but other people will.
Hmm.
Right. So just thinking about that idea of a boss providing opportunities for everyone else to experience their jobs in a positive way and they don't, you're doing your staff a disservice. Right. And it's all on me. Okay. Yeah, great. But the building will not fall down if you go sit and put your toes in the sand if that's really what's going to help you, or go fishing, or you know what, stay in bed. That's such a, every now and then I'll just sleep in. Just let me stay in bed till 11 o'clock. If I don't have a morning class, just let me sleep until 11 o'clock. And if I wake up at 9:30, guess what? I sit my ass there for an hour and a half just to be good without the need for what do I need to do, where I'm supposed to be, what do I have to turn in, and all those other things like that. Sometimes it really just makes a difference to be able to take my time, to not have to take a 10-minute shower. I can take a 15, 20-minute shower, listen to podcasts, just be able just to take my time because the world is so fast and we have so much going on. As happy as we are, right? It's because, it's just like a roller coaster, a high-speed roller coaster. Everything is wonderful and it's great as long as everything's greased, everything's connected. We are having a hell of a time. But what happens when, something is worn and we aren't recognizing what's worn? We fall off the rails.
I want to go back a little bit to the car analogy because obviously like running a diagnostic when your check engine light comes on, like we feel it. We know when we're not doing well. We know what that looks like. We can try to deny it, but like I think intuitively most of us know when we're overextended, overwhelmed, stressed out, whatever that looks like. And so having the right diagnostic tools is important, but I also think it's equally important to do regular maintenance. And so like again, finding that balance in like how much social time do I need? How much time is too much? And everybody's different. There's no right formula for wellness. Again, some people are always like one of my good friends. I love her so much. She works, 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 works because she's got a real focus on financial well-being, which I applaud her. And it's oftentimes at the expense of her physical or emotional or social well-being because she doesn't have time to enjoy the fruits of her labor because she's got another job to go to. I'm like, she's got 27 jobs. It's wild. So again, you can be doing really well in one area, but if you're lacking in another, it's going to affect your overall well-being. And so, I like regular maintenance. What do you need? What do you need? And it's not going to be the same answer for everybody. What do you need that helps you feel good, that reduces your stress, that brings you joy, that helps you feel like the fruits of your labor are worth it? Sometimes that means, again, I have some extra money. I can go buy myself a new outfit. Sometimes that means that I can go to church and I can volunteer for the choir. Sometimes that means that I can volunteer for the food bank and help fill up boxes. Sometimes that means I get to spend an extra hour at the gym and do that hot yoga class or what. I don't know. I've never been to one, but I hear good things about it. I could do water
They're hot.
aerobics with old ladies. Yeah,
They're
I could
hot.
do water aerobics with the old ladies at the pool, like whatever it is. Like you find those things that are helpful for you. And one thing I always want to caution people about are the temporary like masking tape that we think is maintenance, but it's not maintenance. Like, oh, I get off work, let me enjoy a bottle of wine. There's nothing wrong with enjoying a bottle of wine. I'm just saying. But I'm saying that like this is how I de-stress is that every day I come home and drink a bottle of wine, but I don't fix any of the things that are causing me stress. May not be the right solution. If it's like I go to the gym and I work off my rage on the treadmill. That's not a terrible thing, but if you're not dealing with the thing that's causing you rage, then it's going to become overwhelming. Our brains are really adept at finding temporary relief for stress, like that dopamine rush. It could be shopping, it could be sex, it could be drugs, it could be alcohol, it could be exercise, it could be venting, it could be anything that brings us this little dopamine hit of boom, boom, boom. That feels great.
All
But
those
if you're not
endorphins. Yeah. Yeah.
all of the
Yeah.
things, but if we're
Yeah.
not addressing like the root cause of what's causing that stress, then you're always going to be chasing relief. You're always chasing relief. And so this is where I'm going to stand for boundaries. I'm going to stand for boundaries and really people being introspective and thinking about how far can I go? Where's the line? Where can I draw the line on my wellness? Where I could say I'm invested until this line where it causes me discomfort. So I really had to get around work boundaries because I'm a workaholic. If I can work, I've been a workaholic. I'm a reformed workaholic. But because financial wellness was not something that was ever where I was ever thriving, because again, I work for government. So if anybody works for government, you don't get paid very much. So I'm always like hustling. How do I make more money? I got three hungry kids. They got soccer, they got football, they have all these activities. How do I make more money? I mean, I used to go home from my 8 to 5 job and go and bake cupcakes, and I had like this whole bakery happening at my cubicle. Like I was slinging jam from my desk because selling Avon and selling Mary Kay and selling cupcakes and selling, whatever to make enough money to be comfortable. But it was at the expense of being present, whatever it is. So, find those things that where's the boundary? Where do you draw the line where you go too far and I'm not comfortable anymore? I had to really learn that with work because I would say yes to everything. Hey, Tiff, can you do this? Yep. Can you do that? Yep. And then I would find myself like, again, working at 2 o'clock in the morning, trying to make a class that I didn't even want to do, that I didn't even want to do. And when I learned, there was this really foreign word to me. I'm going to work on the pronunciation real quick. I'm going to try it. No. There it is. I got it. No, I'm not interested. No, thank you. Thank you for thinking of me. I don't have the bandwidth right now. Sounds like a great thing. I wish you lots of luck. I'm not doing it. Um, when I learned how to really just say, you know what, that doesn't sound like something I'd be interested in, but thank you for asking. Oh, look at these pink clouds. This is all the joy returning to the darkness. For me was really being able to say, I don't have to say yes to all of these things. And I'm going to set a boundary around where I spend my time and how much time I spend. And that has been the game changer, 100%. I don't do lunch meetings. Invite me to a meeting from 12 to 1. The answer is immediately no. Immediately no. Miss me with that. Why? Because I don't work for free. You're not going to get me to take my lunch break to talk about work. FYPM. I'm not going to tell you what the FY, but pay me is at the end of that. FY, pay me is I don't have a PhD, but I do have a FYPM at the end of my name. I'm not working for free. Period. Miss me with a lunch meeting. I'm feeling spicy right now. Sudden, I got
Yeah,
spicy.
pomegranate wine. Yeah, but what's that? First off, mind your business, right? So yeah, that song. Anyway, so what do we do to set boundaries? What are the boundaries we need to set? One of the things, like you said, to say no, that's sure. But what about some of the stuff we talked about, the dopamine hit, the endorphins? What about that oxytocin, serotonin that happens when we are available for other people and to the point where, they are, we're giving to other people. We give to other people so much. It's just like what we talked about the victim triangle, right? If you are always the rescuer, why? Because it's a dopamine hit, you're solving their problem, or it's a serotonin hit, you're really connecting with them empathetically, or it's an oxytocin hit where you feel appreciated and loved, right? And you can be addicted to those drugs. And you can be addicted to those to the point where your wellness is dependent upon other people giving that to you rather than you taking care of yourself. A boundary that I had is I started um, keeping Fridays for administrative work.
Mhm.
And it's something that I'm really looking forward to doing once I'm done with this program that I do on Fridays and Saturdays. I will have my Fridays completely for administrative work. Um, I have had to learn how to say it differently because I'm not teaching on Fridays, but I used to say, well, I'm just not going to work on Fridays, which is not the right answer. I am doing work on Fridays, but what I'm doing on Fridays is turning in invoices and turning in mileage reimbursements and turning in all those other doing the financial piece of my job that I was doing after I was off at 4 o'clock, which means sometimes I would not get done. Most of the time, I would not get done until 8, 9 o'clock at night. So, I mean, the life of a teacher, life of a trainer, you have your set times, 9 to 4, 8:30 to 4:30, and then you get the rest of life done. And I've decided that I'm at the point of my life and my career where I can give people availability and not include Fridays, which, like you talked about, it's just not always been necessarily financially, I've worked from a deficit mindset where if I turn down money on a Friday, or if I turn down money, period, right, how is that going to affect, what else could I do with that money that I say yes for, right? And what I found is it was affecting my availability to be a good husband, to be a father. And um, I don't want to have that, I don't want to serve my pocketbook and not have anybody to enjoy it with. I am not Scrooge McDuck. You will not see me swimming in my vault of gold. I'm a
Right.
social worker. We ain't got vaults of gold, right? So what am I gonna do? I really enjoy where I am at right now with my career. I enjoy the level of income that I make, and it's not all that great, y'all, but it's good enough to be able to pay the bills and live the lifestyle that I want. My dad always said, if you want to live a certain lifestyle, you have to make the according amount of money, right? And so from the time I was 31, I decided I want to be poor, so I got into social work, right? So, but I've also been able to calibrate my life to recognize what it is that, makes me happy. And what makes me happy is to be a good person, to do good work, and to maximize my potential as a person, as an employee, and as a parent, and as a husband. And I'm really trying to take care of, all of those quadrants, right? And so what does that mean? Something has to fall off. And if I'm not getting an extra, whatever amount of money because I'm not working on a Friday, or, I'm losing a little bit during the month because I'm not working on 4 Fridays, I'm sure that's being paid back in other ways, in other areas of my life. So, with that, that is my boundary that I have created. And so really, looking at my calendar for, moving forward into 2025, I think I'm working 2 Fridays, and it's only because someone begged me to do it, right? But that's the cool thing. I have the option of saying, okay, well, if you need me on a Friday, absolutely you can. It's going to cost you, right? But
FIPM.
that's right. That's right. So, but I also get to see those empty Fridays to know that I can spend that working on that class, or spend that having that meeting, right?
Right.
Or turning in that invoice, or the reimbursements. That really, it brings me joy, brings me peace. I look at my calendar. My calendar makes me happy,
Mhm.
which, you know, I used the calendar make me happy because I could see dollar signs. The calendar makes me happy now because I feel like I have much more balance in my life. And and at the expense of a few shekels. You can't take it with you. And what I found is anytime I make extra money, some comes along to take that shit anyway.
Yeah,
Right.
seriously.
So there is, I really believe in karmically, that if you are robbing Peter to pay Paul, you're going to pay back in a different way, right? So the extra money I'm making by sacrificing, who I want to be for my family, comes back, and, something breaks down that I have to pay out, or a relationship breaks down that I have to repair. And so it's just not worth it. It's not worth it. You
Yeah.
know, I like where I'm at, and I want to stay there. Sure, if you want to throw me some more money, my goal, like I said, since I was a little kid, is to make more money working less. But at the same time, yeah, that boundary is definitely something that I've set, and I'm really proud of myself to accomplish it. Right. So
Yeah, I
that
agree.
brings me peace of mind. It makes me feel more well. Right.
Yeah. I have like a question I want like people to contemplate when it comes to like setting boundaries, because there's always an opportunity cost for anything that we choose. And so when you are saying yes to something, what are you saying no to?
Right.
So if you're saying I'm saying yes to more financial freedom, I might be saying no to my relationship. If I'm saying I'm saying yes to those extra hours at work. What I might be saying no to is that extra time with my family. And I'm going to say something controversial right now, but here I go. Your work don't care about you. Your job don't care about you. Here's the reality. Like we work because we have to make a living, and I think that we should work in a way that's purposeful and something we're interested in and something that brings us passion and joy and all of those things. I really do believe that. But at the end of the day, when you leave your job or something happens to you, you will be replaced. I mean, you'll never be replaced like who you are, but your job will be replenished and somebody else will come in and do that job. But that space in your family's life and your friends and the people who love you and care about you outside of work, they'll always feel that void. And remember, stress is killing you slow. You will die. You will die prematurely. You will die in a way that maybe God, I'm getting real dark. It is keep it real after dark, but you're gonna die in a way that probably is not what you intended, not peacefully in your bed at night. It'll be from some chronic illness that's killing you, that's preventable through, again, managing your stressors and setting boundaries about what you're willing to say yes to and what you're willing to say no to. And so we owe it to ourselves and for the people who love us to really take care of ourselves and to take care of the people around us. And to be honest with each other, if I see you struggling, Carl, like I'll be the first to say, what's going on? Like, what do you need help with? And put myself in that position to support you. I can listen to your problem without making it mine. But a lot of times that awareness of, I see you're struggling, what's going on is enough for people to trigger something that maybe something needs to change. And I can start to think about what that change is. I'm definitely not going to go and go to someone who's just going to commiserate with me and let me stay in that space of despair and help me feel validated and feeling bad. I'm more interested in someone who's going to pull me out and give me that hand up that's going to lift me out of that darkness, whatever that looks like. And I want to be that for other people as well. But for me to be able to be that helper, I have to stay well because you can't pour from an empty glass. I hate to be cliche, but you cannot pour from an empty glass. And self care is not selfish. Self care is not selfish. Making sure that you are well is an important step in making sure that you can be in service to others. And so we have to prioritize it. I mean, there's no other way to say it. And I will never feel bad for saying, I need to take some time for me because I can't show up as who I need to be. I need to take care of me. And if you're in the space of the right people, they won't judge you either. They will support your decision to take care of you, whatever that looks like. And if you're not surrounded by those people, you're not doing well socially. Get new friends. Your friends suck. Get better friends. Get better friends. That's all I'm going to tell you. And it might be your family too. Sometimes your family sucks. Get rid of them too. You don't need them. Get new family. Get a new family. People are always looking for new family. I know it's cruel. I know that's rough. It's hardcore. It is what it is. But you know
We
what?
are spilling the tea.
I am. I'm feeling spicy today, but it's just you have to surround yourself with the people who bring you joy. And if they don't bring you joy, cut them out. It's
100%.
2024. It's 2024. We don't got time for people who are not bringing us joy. They're cut them off. Block them. Block
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Block them on everything. Block them all. Unfollow. 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 Block their number. Do it all. Get rid of them. Let them all be miserable together. That's all I'm saying. Okay, I have some real tips for wellness. Are you ready for some real
Go,
wellness tips?
go for it.
All right, physical wellness. Take your breaks. And that doesn't mean like just put a little, I'm on break, get away from your desk, get away from your workspace, go take a walk, go chat with a friend, go do something, but please, please take your breaks. You're not doing anybody a favor by being a hero and working through your break. So I want to remind you, there have been people who have fought for our rights for years to have rest breaks at work and to have fought for our rights to have healthy work environments. Please do not disrespect the ancestors by working through your rest breaks. We've learned nothing over the last few years. We got to stop messing with the ancestors. So take your breaks. When it comes to your mental wellness, set some boundaries. Be willing to say no to the things that you can. I know you can't say no to everything, but where you do have the opportunity to set those boundaries, be willing to do so. Setting boundaries is easy, keeping boundaries is hard. So be willing to stand on business. If I said I'm not doing it, don't cave. Don't do it. All right. When it comes to social wellness, surround yourself with good people. If you are just with a bunch of takers and takers and takers and they never give back, cut them off. There's way cool people out there that will support you and make you feel good and really like have your best interest in mind. So really build positive relationships with people and the ones that just drain you, get rid of them in whatever way that makes sense for you. Don't give them your energy. And when it comes to emotional wellness, this will be the last one I share here. When it comes to your emotional wellness, pay attention to those things that you feel in your body that are telling you that something's not right. And don't wait for it to get so far it's like beyond the point of no control. In those moments where you're feeling again, wherever you feel it in your body, your shoulders are feeling tight, your chest is feeling tight, your mood changes. Like take that as an invitation to find something to take care of you and not just in a temporary way, like again eating a gummy or drinking a bottle of wine or a 27 pack of beer or 4 hours on the treadmill, but really like identify what's causing that stress and find a solution, and really look at moving forward, how do you want things to be. And so those are my tips, hot tips for wellness.
Where do they sell a 27 pack of beer?
You know what? You can make a 27 pack anywhere if you try hard enough.
That's my one.
24 pack and three singles.
Three tall
Maybe
ones.
maybe mine are a 27 pack because it was a 36 pack and I drank nine of them on the way
Let's
home.
see.
I don't know.
There you go. No, I actually I stopped drinking beer because I lost 45 pounds when I stopped drinking beer too. So, um, but yeah, yeah, I love it. Yeah, absolutely. Another activity that you might want to do that I love doing with folks. Spend some time coming up with 20 different things you can do that helps you relieve stress. It doesn't matter if you've done them in the last 10 years. What's something that has brought you joy somewhere? Going to a ball game, right? Just being by yourself, right? Finding a space, hiking, right? Manicure, pedicure, happy hour, right? All that, bath, whatever it is, come up with a list of stuff that, even if you've never tried it, that, yeah, well, that would be fun, right? Write that stuff down. And then think about how many of those you can do regularly, right? I create a sheet and I have a checkbox. I said, mark down how many of these are low cost, right? Because everyone says, I wish I had time. I wish I had money to do this, right? I wish I had money to get a manicure all the time. I wish I had money to get a massage. Well, okay, so maybe you can't afford a manicure or a massage all the time, but maybe you can afford, a coloring book. Maybe you can afford a walk around the block, playing with your dogs, right? Those things that might bring you joy in ways that you haven't really even discovered yet.
Mhm.
And come up with that. And then time, here's the thing about time. We always find time to do the things that are important to us. You always make that time. So how can we make wellness something that is a priority for us?
Yep.
Right? Don't ever say, I wish I had time for that. If you don't have time for it, time's going to find you. Right?
Make
So
time. Make
how do
time.
we make time? That's right. How do we make time to be able to help ourselves feel fulfilled?
I
And I don't know about
when
you, Tiff. I'm feeling fulfilled right now.
I am fulfilled. I was just really kind of laughing in my mind right now because when you're talking about that time and you don't find time, you got to make time.
Mhm.
It reminded me of the movie Friday where, Smokey's mom sends him to the store and he's like, "This ain't enough." She's like, "Make it
Make
enough."
it enough.
So I'm really thinking about that. How we waste time on so much stuff. We waste time all of the time. And some things we waste time on blaming, moaning, whining, complaining, scorekeeping, tattling, judging, venting. These are all time wasters that you could use to do something different. And so you have to prioritize. Like, I'm never going to find extra time to do anything, but I can make time to do what's important to me. And taking care of you has got to be important. If it's not a priority for you, it's going to show in the way that you live your life and the joy that you have in your life. And I can just say, as a person who hasn't always had an easy life, like, make the time for joy. Trust and believe you're never going to be like, man, I feel really good about life right now and I really regret that. No, I've just really been feeling good about myself lately, and this is really a space that I'm not having a good time and I really would love to be miserable. Get like, it doesn't work like that. When you find time to make the time for what matters to you and what brings you happiness, everything else will fall into place. You have to be willing to prioritize it. And if you're not willing to, that's okay too. But be miserable all by yourself and stay out of my inbox, is all I'm saying. If you want to be miserable all by yourself because I blocked you already. You're blocked, blocked, unfollowed, out of here. That's all. I kept it real, Carl. That's all.
I hear you. Well, be in the building and feel yourself. And until then, I'm Carl.
And I'm Tiff.
And I'm in the building and I'm feeling myself. I'm feeling myself.
I was getting hypey. I didn't know if you caught that.